Okay, hello and welcome back to our Pillars of Eternity blind triple crown playthrough brought to you by GameAnyone.com. Today, I hope we finish exploring Defiance Bay. That's what I want. So we're going to leave the
All right then.
endless paths, I think.
This on Saru. Need a fighting hand here. Hello? Hello?
Okay. Blade of the Endless Paths. Imagine that.
Keeping an eye out.
Alright, so let's go back to Defiance Bay. Let's talk to Durance, let's see. Thought I felt your eyes on me, now come the words. I have questions.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles on the wrong door.
I saw something strange. You were sitting by the fire and I saw great light from your staff.
Tell me what you saw.
It was a flash like an explosion, a rushing of air incredibly bright.
It is the light of the Godhammer you saw.
What's that?
It was a weapon of Deerwood's people, a symbol of their independence. It saved the Deerwood.
I remember. Wasn't that a bomb or something? What do you know about it?
It brought the Saints' war to an end, knocked a god from his perch. There are few that would deny Aothis overstepped. The Godhammer reminded Aothis of it. You saw its light because I helped shape it, give it life, and release it into the world. Once seen, its glory is almost too bright to be believed, and too bright to be forgotten.
So you helped build it?
There were 12 of us. We fashioned the weapon, drafted plans for it, prayed for guidance at Ashfall, and it came to me there. Each of us were given a staff made from the forest of black trees around us, glowing with embers and fire far greater than this branch you see now. It felt as if the staff was Margaren's own finger, guiding my hand, guiding the other 11, the shadows of the 12 who had come to stand on the bridge to stop Aothis.
Shadows of the 12?
Even in that stand, there was a ritual to it. For the 12 that stood on the bridge, there were a dozen shadows cast, a dozen faithful of Margaren, her fiercest supporters and shapers of the Godhammer.
Durance rests the staff in front of him, and the flame atop it curls for a moment, the light flaring slightly. It splits into a ring of flames, one after the other, until a dozen is met.
As 12 held Aothis fast, we 12 unleashed our prayers and let the Godhammer fall.
Ah, so these guys are the shadows of the 12 that died on the bridge. Then it blossoms brightly once and resumes its candle intensity. In the aftermath, the shadows seem sharper in the vicinity, as if they have edges, and you blink to clear your vision. Durance is still staring at the tiny candle-like flame intently.
Shadows cast by the fire of the Godhammer, perhaps. We shared their fate as well in time. Now the spine of the Deerwood is marked by the Godhammer, marked by Margaren.
What do you mean shared their fates?
Not all deaths come with stilled breath and stilled heart, or other stilled passions beneath the waste. Some deaths come from silence. The connection we once shared with Margaren, after the light of the Godhammer, it was not the same. It was as if we'd lost our senses, and sense of purpose as well. Instead of victory being welcomed, there was silence, within and without. Not many can claim to have killed a god. It is less a heroic tale than you would think. And such a death, it changed our faith. All faiths, I expect. Doubt followed, and the world changed. I do not believe Margaren was pleased by what we had done.
Why is that? It seems strange, doesn't it? Given that it was Margaren that gave them the plans for the bomb.
The world is broken. The wheel stilled. There is sickness in the world's heart. Perhaps the price of crossing a god. Crossing two gods. Even as Margaren shaped our hands, perhaps we carried her will farther than was allowed. Just as Widewind did. Saint Widewind. Mortal arrogance to match mortal arrogance. Yet if the world had changed, then I sought to change with it. If I had forgotten some of Margaren's teachings, I would find them again. I would make her see me again.
What did you do?
I remembered Margaren's teachings. How reminders on the flesh were more important than the death of a vessel. And I I wondered if killing Aethys, if that had simply set him free. Had it allowed him to escape his punishment and be taken on the wheel? Like a mortal?
Okay.
As I stepped from the now blessed Godhammer bridge, I thought of Ashfall. I thought of the War of Black Trees, wondered if I needed to be burned to find myself again. That is Margaret at her heart. At least that is my hope. These are the doubts that befall me.
What happened when you returned to Ashfall?
The road to Ashfall is long, gives one time to think. And if you think long enough, you do not go home. I left without telling anyone, with only the robes I wore at Halgot, my staff, and my name, which is long buried. Of my fellow 11 craftsmen, disciples, I know not what happened to them, if they suffered the same doubt as I did. But it was underserved. It was wrong. We had done all that, or had asked. Grab victory from defeat and
Do you feel as if you betrayed your god?
There is something about being used and cast aside. Perhaps Widewen himself felt it. There at the end, when the hammer struck. To be the proof that your god is hollow as the vessel it inhabits. I tried to find purpose, and avoided all contact with other Magranic priests. Did not seek the walls of Ashfall, and sought to make amends to my god through actions. I joined with the Purges for a time, and not long after came the first signs of the Hollowborn. So many crimes, trespasses, violations. The Salvation. Animancers were another sickness born of the Saints' War. A relapse of innovation, of desperation to heal what we had caused. All seemed worse than before the bridge, not better. And as years passed, the world became even worse still for the victory.
Maybe the purges weren't what Magran wanted either. Sweat collects on the sooty creases of his forehead and runs down his dry cheeks. It drips from the tip of his nose. His mouth moves, but his utterances make no sound. He is for once at a loss. Feeling your gaze, he quickly composes himself, wiping his forehead with the back of a dirty hand.
Worship the whims of some fickle bitch, and you'll never be more than dirt beneath her feet. Worship what she worships, on the other hand. Take her fire for your own, and her esteem comes on its own. Of course, by that time you no longer need it. Trial and transformation, sure as Durance taught.
Durance glares at you, and staring into his eyes gives you the feeling of being near the edge of a great cliff.
You think to put the coals to my feet, but what's burned once will never burn again. These talks are your trial, Watcher. You cannot deflect the truth to one who has already been purified by it.
So, tell me what happened on the bridge. We chose the bridge because we could control it. Durance's hands tightened at the top of his staff, as if holding it by the neck. It was a place where we could choke Eothas in his own footsteps, where we knew his feet would fall, a narrow neck of stone. But it was more than that. It was a spine of the deerwood, symbolic of its backbone. Such symbols are important in the construction of a weapon. Durance studies his staff, his eyes trailing along the etchings. Any weapon. Durance's face hardens, and his eyes burn, his eyebrows narrowing. I suspect Eothas knew that as well, And so did his vessel. In its arrogance, his hands tightened on the staff. He intended to walk upon the bridge as if walking on the backs of the deerwood, and we intended to burn him with the light of our faith and his. 12 on the bridge, 12 in the shadow, and gave ourselves to it. What does that mean?
We put much of ourselves into the Godhammer. Such a device is not simply a machine. There are elements of the spirit in it. Even Widewind's spirit.
Why?
We all studied Widewind. He was our enemy, and he had provided the flesh the god wore as a cloak. That flesh made him vulnerable. I knew what fields his hands had tilled, his family, what he had harvested, where he had been born. We sought to know him, what had led him to fight us.
Why was that important?
You don't kill the god. You kill the man it inhabits. And you leave that man a ruin. Burn him to ash. The weapon was meant to not only burn his flesh, but it would burn his soul. And it did. At the cost of our own. And at the cost of our goddess's favor. That whore be damned.
It sounds as if you fell victim to your own weapon.
Perhaps your eyes were blinded by the truth of the Godhammer, Watcher. I feel half a man at times, but even that is twice that of most others. If you fear for my spirit, your fears are baseless. The Godhammer, seeing its light, only fueled my anger and made me stronger, made me re-examine the teachings of Margaret. Put them in a new light.
But it looked as if there was only part of you, as if your spirit had been sheared in half.
I do not need you to cast any more questions on me, Watcher. Nor did I ask you to look upon me without my leave. Get gone, and leave me be.
All right.
Lay low.
Back to Defiance Bay. Well, that's an interesting thing. So this guy is a founder of the Dozens. Who knew? And I'm siding against him. Not that he really cares. Apparently, he is deeply depressed. Doesn't give a shit anymore out much. So, I have explored everything except Heritage Hill. So let's sleep in Copperline and go to Heritage Hill. It's the only part of the city I haven't been to. After I'm done with Heritage Hill... no, I still have to go to a few places in Wandra's Gift, that's true. And entered all the houses there. Nor the lighthouse. Something I need to... yeah, let's do that. After sleeping here. The Warden Lodge is completed. What else gives me security? One security 1600, two security 1500, two security and one prestige 1500. Let's go with that. Yeah, let's finish exploring Ondra's gift. I forgot.
Greetings.